All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there just like you and just like me. So I'm going to be talking about Simon Kirke. He did this interview, and sounds like another classic rock band has unofficially bitten the dust, unfortunately. And it's really sad because I'm a huge fan, all right? Just a giant fan of Bad Company. Before we talk about this, here is Lone Rider and their album Sundown. Perfect time to showcase this, featuring the great Simon Kirke on drums and the amazing Steve Overland on lead vocals. Was my album of the year last year. If you're a classic rock fan, melodic rock, yes, it is very derivative of Bad Company. You can see the picture there with Simon and Steve and the rest of the band. Just a fantastic, yes, very much an imitation of what we used to listen to when Bad Company was in their prime. So I really enjoyed that album. Not only is it a good imitation, but the material itself, the songwriting, very much top notch. Now, this interview came out yesterday with Simon Kirke, and he says here, Bad Company's days are pretty much over. That's the headline. Pretty much over. Last time this band was on tour was 2019. During an appearance on a very popular podcast, Simon Kirke was asked if Bad Company would ever perform again. He says, honestly, I doubt it, and I'll tell you why. I think a lot of people already know that Paul Rodgers has had some serious health problems. He went public with it a couple of weeks ago on CBS. They flew him out to New York, and he came out with the fact that he has had some very severe problems, a couple of strokes, quite a few mini strokes, and heart troubles. And I honestly think that our touring days are pretty much over. Kirke went on to point out that while he is personally in good health, other members of Bad Company have not been so fortunate. In addition to Paul Rodgers' problems, guitarist Mick Ralphs, the band's only other surviving original member, he also suffered a stroke in 2016 and has never fully recovered. It's paralyzed his left side, as most strokes do, so he's really out of commission. He's in a nursing home in England, so he's really not in good health, and certainly his playing days are over. So he had a good run, and I think we're going to lay the old Bad Company to rest, or he says pretty soon. Maybe they'll make it official. I'm not sure. Kirk's recent comments run counter to what Paul Rodgers said earlier this year. During an interview with Eddie Trunk, the singer insisted there was still a lot of life in the group. But Simon Kirke contradicting Paul Rodgers here. So another small issue here is this idea that Bad Company isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Simon Kirke mentions that there were several different eras of Bad Company, including the Brian Howe era. And was it Robert Hart? I forget the guy's name. He was with Bad Company for like a week in the 1990s. I'm just kidding. He was a good singer, but almost not blaming Brian Howe, but just mentioning the fact that the reason the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame couldn't put Bad Company in there is because it was just too confusing. I mean, who do you put in the Hall of Fame? Do you have to put Brian Howe in there? I mean, if you do, that's fine. Brian's not here to accept being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I would put the original lineup in there. That's what I would do with Boz. They didn't even mention Boz Burrell here, but you need to put those guys who broke onto the scene back in like 1974, Swan Song Records. Everybody who had the Led Zeppelin albums, they had the Bad Company albums right alongside. with that logo. Everybody knew that that was the coolest thing because it was kind of like the Led Zeppelin thing, you know. So Bad Company released their stuff right next to Zeppelin, and just it is a little mind-boggling that they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. When the Hall of Fame was founded, Paul Rodgers was asked by Ahmet Ertegun from Atlantic Records, "Hey, I'm starting this rock and roll museum," and Paul Rodgers apparently misunderstood, or they had a lack of communication, and apparently he didn't want to be inducted into a museum. All right, and obviously, the new management of the Hall of Fame has absolutely no interest in putting Bad Company in there, which is really sad. It's sad and ridiculous. And I'm hoping someday someone comes along to fix, correct, right all of these wrongs when it comes to people who aren't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like, why isn't the band America in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Just mind-blowing. I know they don't fit the template. They're not of the right genre. They might not be part of the right genetic makeup, because it seems like it has to be a certain group of people now, or it has to be a super diverse group of people. I mean, we can't just induct a bunch of guys from the UK. And I don't know if that's a good America. Obviously, they kind of sowed their oats over in the UK and got popular over there before they came back to the States. But they're still out there, and they're still a great band. So it's just tragic. It's tragic, and it's ridiculous. And you know, as a fan of great music, you have to think to yourself, why? Why? I mean, Bad Company, it's just, they should have been in. Like, how many years ago? The first year they were eligible. Forget about Brian Howe. I love him, and I think he's always disrespected. He's blamed for things. The poor guy dies, and then they are thinking that it was Paul Rodgers who died, and so they're asking Paul if he's okay, and nobody mentioned Brian, right? The only time they mention Brian is to say, well, that's not really Bad Company, all right? There was a 70s Bad Company, and then there was an 80s Bad Company. And yes, I know Paul Rodgers was there in the early 80s on the album Rough Diamonds, I think it was. But they put the brand back together again, and they went from bluesy 70s music to arena rock for the 80s and beyond. And of course, we know that the 90s weren't kind to bands that sounded like the newer version of Bad Company. Plus, everybody was really mad. There was a lot of fighting, and it's a story I've told before, and there's probably a couple of VH1 documentaries out there that talk about, you know, how Brian Howe messed everything up, all right? Stop dumping on Brian. He's not here anymore to defend himself. So I take up the cause. And look, Simon Kirke, he's a good guy. I like Simon Kirke. He never liked Brian Howe. And I just think it's time to just stop talking about how Brian messed everything up. And Simon is on this project. So again, I'm promoting it. This looks to be the future of what's left of the Bad Company sound. These guys have 2 albums. This one, Sundown, came out last year, and it is fantastic. So please check this out. Also, thank you for supporting the channel. I have had some technical issues lately, and I'm hoping to update things here, but it depends. It depends really if we can keep the revenue stream above break even, all right? And that's what I'm trying to do. So that's why I ask people if you can support the channel. I am reinvesting eventually into maybe some new stuff. I don't know how much of an upgrade that will be, but at least a reliable microphone that people don't complain about, and some other things. I'm looking into it. I just don't have the money right now to shell out. Having a lot of domestic problems that I have to take care of here on the homestead that require just huge sums. Honestly, it's just ridiculous. This inflation, this Bidenomics, it's not working, people. Interest rates are too high. The rent is too damn high, as that guy from New York used to say. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for putting up with this. God bless everyone. Please continue to pray for peace all around the world, especially in the Middle East. And something's got to give where people say, enough, no more war. You know, turn those swords into pruning hooks or whatever is supposed to happen. I'd like to see that happen sooner than later. All right. Over and out.